The New York Rangers, Speedy. Everybody thought that the Rangers were going to open up their pockets. They had like $30-something million off the cap and bringing in Chris Drury. Chris Drury wanted to make a bang and stamp his name to this team. Are you happy with what Chris Drury has done so far?
I'm in between right now. I don't think he's done anything drastically, except for the Buchnevich trade. That was bad, but I don't think that was the only thing I think he's done drastically bad. I like the move so far for Ryan Reeves, and I like the move for Patrick Nemeth, too, for the defensive depth. Nemeth had a nice year with Detroit, a terrible Detroit team, and Ryan Reeves, we know what kind of toughness he can bring. So there's, again, a mix of good and bad. Barclay Goodrow brought in as a trade.
Another tough guy.
Another tough guy, good face-off guy. So, again, it's a mixed bag so far with Drew. But again, I think he missed out too on some from guys like Dougie.
Good free agents.
Dougie Hamilton, who got $9 million from the Devils. Maybe a little overpaid, so maybe you could see why he didn't do that. But considering the trade that the Coyotes did with Oliver Ekman-Larsson, the Rangers could have definitely leapfrogged that. One, because the Coyotes front office is dumb, and two, again, the Rangers have a lot more to work with than Vancouver does when trading for that. So I'm surprised they didn't go after that. Maybe they had a different idea with that kind of money. So maybe the jury's still out on what they end up doing with that money.
There it is again.
Yeah,
jury.
So maybe they'll have to judge the rest of the free agent markets accordingly.
Judge, I like it. He's throwing it in, using the wordplay. Love it. I know a lot of Ranger fans don't want Jack Eichel. And Jack Eichel with his neck problems, and some people say he's going to need neck surgery. Same surgery I just had, disc replacement or a fusion, which we've seen obviously Peyton Manning have. And then He came back for 3 years. He was at the top of his game and completely fell off. He lost his arm strength. I don't know, for a 24-year-old kid that has this problem and might need surgery, if it's worth paying this kid $10.5 million for the next 7-8 years. I mean, he just signed a Sabres contract, I think, for like 8 years. Mm-hmm. I think there's 7 years left on that contract. Are the Rangers willing to pay out that number? I mean, with hockey, that's guaranteed money. Right. He's getting that money no matter what. As you see what's going on with the Islanders, they had to trade Andrew Ladd and picks to get that off their salary cap. So
good job, Coyotes. Another great move.
I mean, they actually did help the Islanders. They really did. Yeah. But I just think that when you look at the Rangers and what the Islanders are doing right now, the Islanders are a much smarter organization, much better run organization. Now, I'm not saying this because I'm an Islander fan, so take this quote because I'm trying to be honest, okay? This is honesty because I take shots at all my teams. I don't hold back. The Islanders, for the last 2 years, have been a top 4 team in the NHL. They have gone to the Eastern Conference Championship 2 times in a row. That means they're a top 4 team. They're amongst the league's best, okay? That's because of Lou Lamoriello and Barry Trotz. They took all of Garth Snow's guys. They put it on one team. They barely brought in any free agents. A little piece here, a Varlamov here, and a little piece there. They didn't bring in superstar players. They didn't do that to solidify what this team was. They put a plan together, and they built through the plan. Built through the defense and goaltending. We win championships. We will be a championship competitive team moving forward. That's what they did. And they wanted to solidify all 4 of their lines. The Rangers the last couple of years, doesn't matter who the GM was or who the coach was, they play 2 lines deep. That's it. They're a 2-line team. Teams are figuring them out. And what they do is they put their top defensive line against those top offensive lines, and they don't stop them, but they hold them to a certain point to keep them out of the game. Now, the New York Islanders, what they did is they're quiet. They're still very, very quiet. They didn't come out and say that they signed Zach Parise. They didn't come out and say they signed Kyle Palmieri, but they're both not signed yet. So it's a foregone conclusion that that's what's going to happen. Zach Parise and Palmieri will sign back with the Islanders because this team is a win-now team. They're young. They're not Rangers young, but they're right there with the Rangers. The Rangers might be, if you age-wise, maybe 3 years younger. The Islanders still, their prototypical top players are in the prime of their careers. Brock Nelson is 28. You have Pelech, 26. Pulak, 26, 27. Sorokin, 25. They have players that are young, that their nucleus of players. Barzell, 24. I mean, their best player. Pajot is 28. I mean, these are young players. Palmieri is 30 years old. He's still in the prime of his career. Zach Parise is old, but Zach Parise has been a leader. Anders Lee, their captain, is 27, 28 years old. So the Islanders are still fairly young, and they're growing. Dobson's 19, 20, okay? So they're young, and they're up and coming. Their good years are not even there yet. And now you're bringing in veterans. If they bring in a Tarasenko or they bring in somebody else, the Islanders are solidifying themselves to be ready for next year again to go on another cup run. So what are the Rangers going to do? Now, the Rangers got to keep up with the Islanders now, because now the last 3 years, it's not the Rangers' town anymore. It is the Islanders. The Islanders are the better team. They're the better built team. They have the best GM in the league. He's 2-time GM of the year. They have a coach of the year. They have a nucleus to move forward. And by the way, they have the new stadium that's now there in the Belmont that people are going to be loving and wanting to go and check out. It's not Madison Square Garden, but it is the Belmont. It's going to be big. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be fun to go and check it out and watch concerts and Islander games. It's going to be fun. They finally have a home, Speedy.
Finally have a home, and yes, it's going to be something that the players are going to look up to for sure, especially in that inaugural season. And whether, again, they do get that big name to go with it is still something they could do with Tarasenko now that they shedded a lot of the money, and it's something that they should definitely be encouraged by. Even if
they don't.
Yeah, regardless of what happens with the rest of their guys being able to keep their
Anders
guys.
Lee and Zach Parise being added to your roster and getting rid of some of these other pieces, you're going to be a better team.
Yeah, Parise is barely going to get anything, and he's going to be a nice leader, probably a good third-line type player.
You could put him on the first line with Barzal.
Some games. He's not going to be able to play that many minutes like he used to, but some games he definitely could be some rotations. He could definitely play with Barzal just to see how it works. Again, he's lost a lot of speed just aging, but again, he's still a nice leadership type guy. Palmieri's the same kind of way. Great veteran leader that is a very consistent, steady, good player.
Listen, Parise's better than Komarov, okay?
That's not saying much.
I mean, if Parise could give the Islanders 20 to 25 goals this year, that's really good. That's really good. And 82 games, you can expect that from Zach Parise. He can score goals.
Right, yeah. He's definitely capable of it depending on where he ends up playing. If he's a third line type guy most of the year, I wouldn't expect 20, but you could definitely expect that if he plays on the first line most of the time. Again, being that he's older, being that I don't know if he has the ability to play that much minutes, I don't see it as a full-time thing, but definitely somebody that'll help out Barzal the way that he could shoot for sure. And Palmieri's the same kind of way. And then Tarasenko, if they get him, forget it. That he's having a lights out year with Barzal.
I just think, I don't know what's going to happen with Tarasenko, if that's ever going to happen. I think the Islanders have to re-sign Pelech. They got to sign Bolivier. I mean, but even if they re-sign their players, they bring back it's Cizikas. They bring back all their players, their fourth line, that great fourth line, and they might even re-sign Zajac because he's going to be cheap too. So they could bring back all these guys, and that's why I said the New York Islanders, because there's a lot of New Jersey players, a.k.a. Green, that's still there, who just signed a small contract with the Islanders. So you have their old captain Green, Zach Parise and their other captain. So you got two old Devils coming to the Islanders, or they're on the Islanders now. And then you have Palmieri, who's been one of the Devils' best goal scorers for the last 2 years. This is the Devils. And by the way, their backup goalie was the ex-Devils superstar goaltender. What's his name again? Corey Schneider is still on the Islanders. I mean, this is the Islander Jersey Devils. Lou Lamoriello's trying to stamp his name to this team. That's what he's trying to do, and he's bringing back players that he believes that will solidify this organization moving forward and be faces of the new age Islanders, where they're not going to be a laughing stock anymore. You're not going to want to play the Islanders anymore in the playoffs. You're not going to want to play the Islanders in regular season because they're mean, they're gritty, and they're tough, and they're going to beat you down if you try to play them. So I think the Islanders really, even some of the small moves that they made, and if they bring in Tarasenko, forget it. You're talking about a Stanley Cup championship kind of caliber team, where people are going to be talking about, well, look what they did. They brought Zach Parise in, they signed Palmieri, and by the way, they traded and they brought in Tarasenko. So, and they solidified everyone in the lines. Palmieri goes to the second line, Zach Parise goes to the third line, Tarasenko goes to the first line, and you still have your fourth line. You just boosted up your line, and you brought back Pelech, and you brought back Anthony Bolivier, and all you lost was Jordan Eberle. So this is a better team. It's going to be a better team this year. It's crazy to say that this team is going to be better than they were the last two seasons. after what Lou Lamoriello is doing. And he's doing it in a smart way, stamping his stamp. He's giving away picks, but their farm system's still pretty stacked. They have a young kid, Salo, that might make the team this year. And defensemen are very hard to find. The Islanders are overly stocked with defensemen. So what they could do, they could trade some of those guys away. And by the way, they still have Kiefer Bellows, who they didn't lose in the expansion draft where everybody thought they were going to lose him. They lost Jordan Eberle, which, by the way, the Krakens helped the Islanders re-sign Pelech and Zizekas. So every way you look at it, the Islanders are winning this offseason. It's really, really fun to watch, Speedy.
Bellows could now be an interesting piece that could be
trade
in the Tarasenko deal now with some of those defensemen maybe. And obviously, whatever draft picks they have left, they don't have many draft picks, early draft picks, I should say.
They're going to have to give away a contract because they got to bring Tarasenko.
Sure. But again, they've done that so far very well this offseason. They might as well work with the Coyotes again. Why not? Just dump more money on them.
I would trade Bailey. That's what I would trade.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you could do something like
take
that.
$5 million off the cap, and then you trade away Kiefer Bellows and maybe another prospect. That'll seal the deal. And then you bring in Tarasenko. Bailey's not a big loss for the Islanders.
You can even add him as part of the deal. Maybe St. Louis can make it work with that kind of thing too. Maybe they have the Bailey and Buchnevich line. Who knows?
Oh God, please. The Islanders are going to figure something out. And I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that they can't land Tarasenko. I think Tarasenko wants out. I don't think he wants to stay with St. Louis. And St. Louis still thinks that they could keep Tarasenko on the roster. Even if he's kept on the roster in the beginning of the season, they're going to trade him no matter what. So I think trade him now and get what you can for him right now where who knows what he is because he can't stay healthy. If I was the St. Louis Blues, that's what I'd be doing.
Just think about this. If they do include Bailey in the deal, then they could have a line of all ex-New York teams. But Josh Bailey from the Islanders, Ryan O'Reilly from the Sabres, and then Buchnevich from the Rangers.
How yippee. How yippee. Not yippee skippy. How yippee. That's my word. My wordplay of the day. How yippee.
Oh, what happened to Judge and Jury? That was so much fun.
Oh, that was you. You're judging.
No, you started that. I just went on with it later.
All